Now I'm going to go over the sorts of mal-pruning, which are everywhere. I keep looking for a country or a place that has good pruning, and it seems like mal-pruning or bad pruning is almost instinctual. People always go about it the wrong way. Tree topping, plant tipping, shearing, which is sometimes right, sometimes wrong, and overthinning are the major forms of mal-pruning. We talked about the non-selective heading cut and how it creates a hydra. This is what it looks like on a tree that's been topped. This is a no-no. There's almost no circumstances under which tree topping is appropriate. One, it looks really bad. But two, you get this upsurge of water sprout growth, and the trunk starts to die out because of the topping cut. And these new branches are weakly attached and more likely to fall out even 30 years later. There are a lot of reasons not to top trees, which is a worldwide problem. It doesn't work to keep your tree small. It doesn't work to preserve the view. It ruins the view and the tree. Doesn't make it safe, makes it dangerous, and it costs a whole lot of money because it won't stay done. And besides, it makes you look cruel and or foolish. Your neighbors know you to be good, kind, gentle people, but when people are driving by, they shake their heads. The second most common form of mal-pruning is inappropriately sheared shrubs. It's sort of a takeoff of a real thing called topiary, which is what I call a form of pruning art. Here again, shrub shearing is the non-selective heading cut and will either cause dieback or the upsurge of water sprouts. It also makes a dense crown on the outside from years of shearing, which is an inherently unhealthy situation. All the leaves on the inside, all the branches on the inside die out, and there's no air circulation, and it's the perfect home for bugs and diseases. And it also looks a little funny. I especially like that little bulb on the middle shrub. People do shearing because it's so gratifying. There might be an innate love of sheared shrubbery, but it's an early love of plants. I compare it to when I was a little girl and I liked pink unicorns, and I thought those were pretty cool. But as I became a more sophisticated adult person, I gave that up and learned to like more adult forms of what's cool. One of the problems with shearing, inappropriate shearing, is you get the upsurge of water sprouts. You're trading in ultra tidy for ultra messy, and it's a treadmill and it's high maintenance. If you're pruning selectively, you will never get water sprouts. You won't have to prune anything except, either never or once every 5 years. Problems with shearing, it's high maintenance because you have to keep taking off those water sprouts. You're doing it as much as 8 times a year. And because of that twiggy outer shell, your plant can only go one way, and that's bigger. Because you can't cut through that outer shell, you'll get into a bunch of dead, ugly stuff. If you're selective pruning, you can reduce the size of the plant because there's always something green to cut back to. And you get this kind of funny-looking thing. You can see the outline of the tidy tree and the water sprout regrowth. It also increases the chances of freeze, drought, and insect damage. All that soft new growth that you force by non-selective heading is just like the yummy stuff for bugs. It also freezes easily and fries. And then finally, we say it may negatively affect the flower show texture or branch pattern, which is a way of saying it defeats the purpose of your shrub or tree. Everything in your yard was planted because it brings something to the party. It either has a cool branch structure, a great big quilted leaf, some nice flowers, and if you shear them, they all begin to look the same. If you really like that look of the sheared shrubbery, you pick plants which naturally lend themselves to topiary and start from the beginning and make a real good show out of it. You don't just go out one day and turn your forsythia into a duck. This one looks like we're having an outbreak of something. This is a nice feathery shrub, and it's supposed to look sort of like bamboo. These are the same plant sheared into balls that looks sort of like a pool game. These are all gone now and replaced with some more shrubs that are being sheared. And the thing people don't tell you is it's the hallmark of bad taste. The third form of mal-pruning is over-thinning. Thinning is more, the right way to do things, but you can go overboard, and people often do. They over-thin, they overskirt, or they lion's tail, and I'll show you what those mean. Here's the thinning cuts again, or the removal cuts. You can do a whole bunch of little ones, if you don't do too many and they aren't too big, you don't get water sprouts. Or you can do a few larger ones. But you can do too many. This poor shrub was over-thinned, and it doesn't have the capacity to water sprout back. Looks sort of like broken arms and legs. So you want to ask yourself, will it be prettier when it's thinned out? Before you press on. Lion's tailing is another form of mal-pruning. It looks like this. And notice that this is beautiful. All the internal branches have been stripped out, and it's just left this outer layer of foliage. Although this looks good, it's really bad for the tree. This is a California live oak that's now a California dead oak. Had it lived, it would have water sprouted back like crazy. And also notice that the wind presses against the outer branches, and that might make it more prone to breakage. 4 reasons not to strip. You don't want water sprouts. You don't want your plant to starve. You don't want it to look funny, and you don't want it to fall over or have the branches break.